Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here as always with my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, it's transfer rumour mill season. You guys know Coutinho's done, Dean's getting close, and here we are to just kind of round up on some of the things that we felt like haven't necessarily deserved the full video. There's been a lot of names being bandied about, and for reasons that we'll get into later on in this video, we're going to discuss Aston Villa's potential ins and outs as they're happening. But first of all, Dan, how are you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Nice to, we'll get a little bit of a transfer roundup, not so much as a rumour mill and such, but I think it's been a busy window, hasn't it? So, yeah, it'll be good to sort of give a bit of a summary of what we're seeing at the moment.
For sure. But before we get into this, guys, first of all, we've got a message from our video sponsors, OneFootball. Dan, have you ever wanted an app that collates all the scores and news from your favourite teams in the whole of Europe, Dan? Have you ever wanted that?
It's a constant need of mine, mate, because there's always news. That's the thing, is that we love this game. We love the industry of football because it's ever-changing, mate, and you need a place to keep up with it all.
And we have that place exactly for you guys.
Do,
it's OneFootball. Guys, this app is genuinely... it's life-changing.
It's great because I actually I use it. So it's great because it's where I pull the stats from for the podcast. So it's like there's all that new stuff as well, but you can track all of the players' stats from like across Europe for all the different leagues, for continental football as well. It's a dream. It's a dream. And the best part, mate, is it's free.
It's free, and guys, it would help support the channel massively if you check that OneFootball using the link in the description down below. We promise you guys won't be disappointed. So that's it, guys. If you haven't already checked out OneFootball, make sure you do so using the link in the description. It's where Dan and I get all of our information for videos like these. It's just the best place to be, isn't it, Dan?
100%, mate. 100%.
But that'll lead us nicely. First of all, Dan, I think that there's a transfer that we'd love to have done a full rumour mill on, but with the distinct lack of SPL coverage and our knowledge just not being brilliant, we couldn't dedicate a full episode to analysing this guy. Kerr Smith, Dan. Now, it's an interesting one because, again, it's a position where I don't really think Villa for a long time have looked to recruit some academy players. We kind of had a big batch over the past probably 2 years ago now. Villa really did their sort of a big overhaul of the academy. Now, Smith is playing at Dundee United. Currently, he's 17 years old. He's made 7 appearances so far this season, which is really good. I mean, at 17 years old, if you're playing first-team football, you have to be somewhat decent. 2 million's the fee that's being bandied about, or it can rise up to that, should I say. I think centre-back's an interesting one, mate, because it's one where the last time Villa had a decent centre-half come through the ranks is probably Kieran Clark, and that comes with a big asterisk next to it, mate.
Yeah, indeed, mate. It seems like it's a position where, with Tuanzebe leaving the club, it feels like we might turn to one of the youngsters just to fill that gap, because it's one of those where Courtney's probably the third choice in that department. It's not really worth bringing in a whole other signing to be your fourth choice centre-back. So, with so many promising youngsters coming through the ranks, it's good that I think we turn to some of those kids and give them a path to the first team in that defensive department and show them that, that there's game time there if they're good enough. And Smith certainly looks that. It's a £2 million fee, which is a lot for the SPL generally. It's not often you see sort of £1 million deals going on up there, and for a 17-year-old, it's very interesting, especially when apparently he had a trial with us back in 2020. He had a trial at Man United as well. He made his debut for Dundee United at 16, which is pretty remarkable, in a 4-1 defeat to Rangers, who were managed by, at the time, Steven Gerrard. So how much Stevie knows about this boy is we don't know, but he's come up against him before, and it seems like he's been making waves up in Scotland, and we've beat off some pretty high profile. We expect him to join up with Mark Delaney and the under-23 boys, but I think he's someone that we could well be seeing on the bench as we get towards the back end of the season.
Yeah, I think that's kind of been a trend, really, hasn't it, Dan? If you look at that sort of FA Cup clash, it was littered with youngsters on the bench. We've seen 2 or 3 of either Carney. We've seen Aaron Ramsey on the bench as well, before obviously he's gone out on loan to Charlton. We've seen Archer, we've seen Philogene Bidet. So if you're good enough, you're going to be in and around the squad, which is brilliant. But it's going to be good to get, just another hopefully quality centre back in. But while we're on the subject of Axel, Dan, I told you last night I'd read you a quote from his agent, as this is caused quite a stir. Now I don't really know how I feel about this, Dan, but I'm intrigued to know what you think. Obviously, Axel has spent 3, maybe 4 wonderful loans at Aston Villa. He's contributed a fair bit to the club in terms of getting up, and for whatever reason after the promotion felt like he could maybe work his way into that Manchester United side. We spoke about that before. It's not happened, Dan. And Axel's come to the Villa clearly under the premise of, you're going to probably play half of our games, because Dean Smith at the time was looking to play a back 3. Thank God, the back 3 is no longer a thing. Axel hasn't really, he's not really impressed personally when he's come on. He hasn't necessarily done anything wrong for me, Dan, but the sacking of Smith was probably the final nail in Tuanzebe's Villa coffin, to be honest. And at his age, he needs to be playing football, mate. And it's his brother and agent, Dimitri Tuanzebe, who runs his own sports agency, Millennial Sports Management. Reply to my emails, please, guys. He released a statement when Axel's loan was terminated, and obviously he's made his way to Napoli. In again another transfer that doesn't really make a lot of sense, only really for Napoli, I guess. And the word he was quoted as saying, Axel is very excited to begin a new chapter in his footballing career, playing abroad and for a club with so much history behind it and fans who worship football. Axel didn't decide upon a move until it became very clear that he isn't the manager's first choice centre-back, and the Napoli offer was very tempting. I have a lot of mixed emotions when it comes to Axel's time at Villa. He is loved by the fans and has contributed highly to the club's success in the Championship, where he was one of the key players to help Villa return to the Premier League. However, following the arrival of Steven Gerrard at Villa Park, it feels as if the rivalry between Manchester United and Liverpool came to life. Who was the first name on the team sheet when Steven Gerrard first stepped in, Dan? Ashley Young. It was Ashley Young. So that is a complete load of nonsense. Axel will always have a place in our hearts, for sure. But, I mean, what a weird thing to come out and say, at risk of tarnishing that memory that we shared, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand that, for it has to be a frustrating period for Axel, and I've got no doubts that it was for him and for his brother as well, who no doubts wants to see him succeed. But yeah, I think it feels like a bit of a reach, that, to be honest, mate.
I mean, surely you can't be saying that. Like, I don't know. It's not really bothered me, but it's just he's just plucked something out of a hat there, and I mean, it's not doing Axel any favours. Obviously,
especially when you look at, we're supposed to be signing Luca Digne from Everton.
Yeah,
it's
make it make sense.
No grounds there, yeah, 100%.
But yeah, I mean, I just wanted your reaction on that, mate. I said I'd mention it to you last night.
Yeah, you can't take this stuff too seriously, man. Agents will do this.
I mean, yeah, and the thing is, he'll be back at Manchester United in the season. He won't be at Napoli permanently. Obviously, he's just Koulibaly cover while he's away with AFCON. But yeah, I mean, that was just something I felt like we needed to cover while we're talking transfers. But while we're on the subject, Dan, it looks like Dean is getting that bit closer. And another name that's been bandied about, dare I say, cult hero, Dan, Anwar El Ghazi has been. It looked like they tried to slip him into the deal. Maybe some creative accounting is going on, because it looks like there are 2 separate deals now. Villa value him at £50 million. If we get that done, I mean, thank you very much, Anwar. You've contributed greatly to this club. You truly have. Anwar, for me, he's been a clutch player. He's always been a confidence player. He's one who we've loved on the channel, Dan, for the longest time, and it's been so frustrating that we could never consistently see the best of Anwar. But for what this man's contributed into getting this fine footballing establishment back where it deserves to be, I mean, this guy goes with the best intent from me, mate. Honestly, the best wishes. I hope he does so well.
Yeah, it's one of those where, you know, we're going to start to see this now, and soon, you know, that squad that got us up from the Championship and kept us in the Premier League will be long gone, just because of the nature of progression. But with Anwar, I think you can't, you know, I'm not completely. I think he'll do well. I really do. I think he'll go there with a point to prove. I think he'll get time at Everton to show what he can do, and I think he'll get the minutes on the pitch as well, and I think he'll do quite well there. Um, but you know, it's one of those where you have to make these sacrifices now. You are going to have to sell clubs, players to clubs that we would consider rivals. I think Everton exists, you know, perhaps not in a similar league position, but in a similar market to us in terms of the players that they're able to attract and the business that they're able to do. And I think they'll probably be far more aggrieved selling Luca Digne to us than we will Anwar to them. And so, whilst, you know, I'm disappointed to see Anwar go, I'm, as I said, disappointed to sell him to a club that, you know, have similar aspirations to us. I think we are getting the better end of the deal.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, you know, we paid about £7 million for him in total, didn't we? So to almost double our money is a really good bit of business. That's been a great find. Again, Anwar's contributions to the club over the time, you know, the screamers against West Brom and Nottingham Forest, and scoring against Derby in the playoff final, clutching it up against Everton. He scored goals when it matters, mate. And you know, again, just I hope he has a successful time there. I think Everton fans, you'll have a frustrating player on your hands, but you know, he pops up when it matters. And I think a lot of people are split on Anwar, but yeah, it's kind of, as you say, mate. We're looking at the sort of, we're down to the bare bones now in terms of that promotion squad. Who've we got? We've got Jeds, we've got McGinn, we've got Ty. Is that it? I mean, Keenan's still about.
There's not too many more. Too many more.
So, I mean, it's clear signs of progression, not only just from in terms of recruiting players, but just the position we were in, man. Because it is crazy to the journey we've been on over the past 5 or 6 years has been mental, mate. Honestly, it's been crazy. But yeah, I mean, I swear there was something else I wanted to talk about on this podcast.
We have. I think the thing is with the deal, mate. I think it will be probably more intertwined than people are making out. And yeah, I think ultimately you got to make these sacrifices. You know, Coutinho comes in, you got to let Anwar leave, and I think it brings up a sort of similar thing to in the DM spot with you know, we've been linked to Bissouma and stuff like that, and it sort of likens me like unfortunately, this is the nature of the game. It's happened at left back. Like, these boys are going to slowly just get pushed out of the team. You know, Digne will come in and Target will be pushed out, and you know, it sort of points to an eventual departure for him. And you know, if we bring in another DM, then what, you know, you've got players in that spot that I think it's probably a bit more harsh, though, isn't it? Because both Marvelous Nakamba and Louise, I think, have played very well this season. Neither of them have really put too high profile a foot wrong, especially Marv, who's been fantastic. So if you know, we do sign a DM, I think it's a difficult situation for those boys, isn't it?
It is, man. And I mean, Bissouma's one. I think we chose not to speak about Bissouma because of the allegations and investigations that are going on. I don't think we can either sit here and say he isn't a fantastic player, Dan, and one that we would welcome with a clean criminal record. But yeah, I think that's really important to asterisk, because not only do you, first of all, want someone who has been reported to have allegedly sexually assaulted someone on your team, you also don't want to shit £50 million down the drain on that as well. As from a business point of view, it makes absolutely no sense. I believe he's actually on the bench now in AFCON, which I think people are reading way too much into, by the way. So, you know, hopefully there's another target. I mean, for me, Dan, Zakaria is the one, and Goal, again, we're reporting that he's available for €6 million in January, and you can't not at least attempt to make that happen. I think when we're talking about Zakaria, Dan, it seemed likely. As soon as we published it, Dan, Manchester United were reportedly interested, and that's where you go, okay. And we did a podcast, Dan, where we were saying we're not going to be getting too many sort of quality players in January, and here we are with egg on our faces. But the fact that we've got Coutinho over the line, the fact that Dean is almost over the line, it does really make you think, why can't we get Zakaria, mate?
Yeah, especially, you know, if Mönchengladbach are looking at £6 million, then I think that's something that, you know, you have to try. You have to try, because it's not often you can get a player like that for such little money. I think the one thing that, you know, we stand a chance of you just have to be proactive, because I don't think we stand a chance in a pre-contract situation, because when we're up against other clubs like, you know, the real powerhouses of Europe, we can't put the same money down in a contract situation that you know, a United can, or you know, you've seen him linked to Bayern Munich or someone like that. They can just offer money that we can't. However, if we're the only club that are willing to go and pay the money right now to buy him out of this contract and get him in January, that puts us in a completely different position, whereby Mönchengladbach will favour that deal, because £6 million is better than nothing. It's nowhere near what his market value is, but it's something that Mönchengladbach would take, because it's like, it's better, as I said, it's better than getting nothing at all. So if you're proactive in that situation, I actually think it gives Villa a better chance, because as I said, when you line, you know, we don't like playing big players, big money. You know, it's something that we've been trying to avoid. We tend to be quite shrewd with the way that we get players in. You know, the wages with the Coutinho deal, we seem to have been very clever about. I think it's, you know, we've seen sort of about £125,000 a week banded around and stuff like that. And I genuinely think that's about towards the upper echelons of what Villa are planning to pay players at this moment in time. And so I think, as I said, in contractual situations, we definitely fall down the pecking order. But if we go and put in money, I think Mönchengladbach will try and turn his head towards that deal.
Yeah, I just really hope it will happen. That would sort of, for me, cap the sort of the dream January transfer window. I don't think anyone expected. And there's been two goalkeepers, Dan, as well, that have been bandied about, which again, they're nothing stories really, but we should probably talk about them. They don't deserve their own TRM episode, but Darren Randolph being one, former Birmingham City goalkeeper, allegiances aside, brilliant keeper, in my opinion. Has looked solid in the Championship, hasn't looked out of place in the Premiership, and is, for me, probably better than Jed Steer. And as well, Robin Olsen, currently at Sheffield United, which surprised me. I know he had some time at Everton. Again, a goalkeeper with pedigree. Is he better than Steer? Possibly. But I think, you know, something that has to be considered is Jed, first of all, happy to play second fiddle? I guess things are quite cushy for him, but surely at one stage he's going to want to go and forge a career of his own, really, and be the number one that he deserves to be.
Yeah, I think he's the longest serving player at the club, and he's only made 30 something appearances in the almost 10 years that he's been here. And so, yeah, he's been very happy with that role up to now. I imagine that there are many goalkeepers in world football that are very happy to play second. You know, the life of a reserve goalkeeper can be an easy one. And I think that, you know, it's one of those where it seems a little bit odd unless Jed is wanting out, because otherwise it just seems a bit pointless. Like, yeah, these guys might be an upgrade on him. I think, you know, maybe they are, but it's not massive, is it? There's no, you know, big gulf between these guys. So, you know, if we were making some huge upgrade, I think it would worth it. But for Jed, when he's come in, has always been very solid. He doesn't frighten me. I always feel like he's quite reliable in there. Always seems like he really wants to do well whenever he gets the chance. So unless he's on his way out, it just seems a bit odd to me. And so I think that's what you have to assume, that maybe that point has come for Jed. Unless I don't really think these rumours make sense.
No, and again, people were saying if we are to push for Europe, you need a better backup goalkeeper. Emi plays every game. He just does. Like Villa don't put out a second strength side to Slovan Bratislava or whoever they face in the Europa Conference League or whatever, should that happen, of course. Villa go all out, I think. So, I mean, of course, I think there are positions that need upgrading. If Emi gets injured, would I be comfortable with Steer playing, you know, 10 games? I'm not really too sure. But again, I don't really think there's that much urgency to upgrade, again, unless, as you said, mate, there has been that conversation with Jed whereby he feels he needs to go and play football, which, again, you know, comes at probably a conflicting time for him, really, because he's been at the club for so long. He's had so many injuries. He's had so many brilliant moments for us as well with West Brom and the penalty shootout and getting promoted, things like that. It's just, again, you know, with the fact that he's been able to come up clutch in these moments demonstrates that there is a good keeper out there at the very least for a top 6 championship club. Again, we've not really heard anything on that, mate, but hopefully we don't sign either Randolph or Olsen, because I can't say I'd be too keen on either. But again, it's a difficult position to recruit for, mate, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. It's one of those where I think, you know, if Jed goes, both of those guys I would take. You know, Olsen had his time at Roma and stuff like that, and Randolph, I think, has had very good spells. You know, you especially like Middlesbrough and stuff like that. So I think it's one of those where, I hope Jared stays, because I do like him at the club. I think he's a face that you know, Villa fans have grown quite fond of, and as you said, it always felt a bit harsh not giving him the time. You know, you have to be. As I said, it seems to be a theme of the podcast that you have to be harsh in these situations. But you know, it always felt like, you know, he did so much for us in the Championship. You would have loved to have given him that chance in the Premier League, wouldn't you? But unfortunately, you know, when you now look at Emmy and you think, you know, it's chalk and cheese between the two of them, unfortunately. So yeah, I mean, whatever, we wish him the best, mate. You know, we're a big fan of him here on the pod. Well, I guess he would be, by the way, in the future, someone I'd absolutely love to talk to.
Jed, come on the podcast, man. Come on the podcast. 100%. I'm sure the thing is, he's been, as you said, mate, longest serving player at the club. He would have seen so much. Like, he's seen that club on its knees, on the floor, and then, you know, back to where we are now. He's going to be training with the likes of Coutinho for now, which is, again, it's remarkable. So, Jed, come on the podcast. We're always trying to get guests on. We're close with one or two. We're really close, guys. It's going to happen one day, honestly, and they're going to be incredible podcasts. But it's just
100%.
Trying to sort schedules out, man. It's tough.
The stars need to align, don't they, mate?
They do, mate. They do. And honestly, as well, you know, obviously we're in a position where, do you know what? I think we can say this, Dan. Years ago, we tried to get John Carew on the podcast, didn't we? That would be an absolute dream.
Yeah,
I'll let you tell the story. We were very much in our infancy, Dan, and you contacted John Carew's people, didn't you, mate?
So I got in touch with John Carew's people and was like, hi, like, yeah, we'd love to have them on the podcast. And they, like, we had a few initial emails where they were like, yeah, John, we were supposed to John would be right up for it. Like, loves his time at Villa. You know, doesn't have as much to do with the club as he perhaps like to. So we'd love to speak to you guys. And I was like, brilliant. We'd love to have him on. And he was like, yeah, he's free here and there and everything like that. And I was like, oh, that's great. You know, brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. And then like we were like 3 or 4 emails in and like nothing had been discussed. And they were like, oh yeah, he's only wanting like $2,000 to come on. So like, if you could just send us this money. And I was like, I don't think we're in that kind of, like, this is in the, like this must be like 3 or 4 years ago now. This is in the early days of the Villa podcast. I don't even think if you combined our 2 bank accounts, mate, we wouldn't have had a grand put together, let alone 2. So yeah, John Carew did initially agree to come on, but then slapped us. You know, he's a big time actor now, man. So
he's been in Disney films.
He has. He was a Nutcracker, wasn't he? I can't pretend that, you know, I was naive to think that he was going to do it for free, maybe. But you know, these guys want to come on. It's just maybe maybe when we're in a bit of a better financial situation, we'll get Big John on.
For sure. I mean, Matt, we were about a week off getting Melberg, weren't we, as well? Before he got sacked.
Yeah. Before he got sacked, yeah.
Replies. I mean,
when he was,
that was thanks to an assignment of yours as well.
Yeah, I was contacting these guys in Swedish. We were like, use my best Google Translate skills. And they were like, yeah, again, Olaf would love to go on. And just as we were sorting it, his club suffered a bit of a turn in form and he got sacked. And now he's a difficult man to track down because I think he's about the club. But yeah, we are getting there. Just seems that these things just seem to avoid us at the last second, but we've got a couple of new ones coming up. So hopefully we can sort those out. 2022, mate. As long as we get them done by the back end of this year, I'll be happy.
Fingers crossed, man. Fingers. If not, we can always get Kins back on the channel, friend of the podcast.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely something in that. But yeah, I mean, if you guys have any links to current or former players, please let us know because we'd love to have them on. We'd love to sit down and chat. I mean, for the longest time, and it will never happen because Villa's media team just absolutely hate us, Dan. I think a really cool concept would be, obviously we all know how much Tyrone is a war zone sweat. I mean, how sick would it be to live stream Warzone with Tyrone? Can we make this
Oh,
happen?
mate, one day, one day.
I mean, first of all, I've got to improve at Warzone because I think I would be embarrassed to play with Ty as I am now. And you know, he's on PC. He's clearly good at the game. But yeah, I mean, if you guys have any links, any contacts, hit us up on socials or in the comments. You know, we're always looking to improve the content for you guys. But yeah, that ends. That should round up this podcast, guys. It's been great. A little transfer update. Fingers crossed, Dean is coming over the line sooner rather than later. And yeah, if you enjoyed this, make sure you hit a like, comment your thoughts below, and also subscribe for more. Up the Villa.